Parenting in today's high-pressure society is a lot different from generations of previous decades. In today's Midday Fix, we're talking with the author of a new book, Calming Teenage Anxiety, a parent's guide to helping your teenager cope with worry. Sophia Galano is a licensed clinical social worker, and she is the author of the book, here to help us. We have done countless stories on the fact that anxiety is growing among teens, but rarely do we get the answers. So let's begin with the first task, and that is recognizing the anxiety beyond what we might think of as everyday stress. And so many parents say, is this it? And if so, what do I do? You've got the answers.
Yes. It's a great question. And it is so common to understand or confuse this and not understand this. I will first of all remind parents that teens are not expert communicators. So most teenagers are not going to go to their parents and say, hey, mom, dad, I'm really struggling emotionally. I could benefit from some coping skills and emotional regulation techniques. Most teenagers are going to communicate their anxiety in a way that may feel abnormal to an adult. So it might come across as more avoidant, more angsty, sometimes even more hostile. It might feel that the teen is withdrawing from activities that they once liked. It might come across as the teen just seeming really abnormal for their usual self. And oftentimes, parents understandably can confuse this with sort of standard teen angst and kind of write off a teen anxiety when in fact there is something deeper going on, and is important for parents to look underneath the surface. And I usually recommend assessing how often a teen is struggling and to what extent.
Yeah. You wrote this book because so many parents were asking you questions and you thought, okay, I'll give the answers to a wider field of people. And it is generational because, when I was growing up, they said, you're fine, toughen up. But things are different now, and the approach to parenting needs to be different.
Yes, absolutely. And again, it's hard to kind of tell the difference here of when is it appropriate to intervene, and then also when is it a time to encourage the teen to develop resilience, and we want to be very, very mindful of not rescuing or enabling. However, we do want to take a teen's anxiety seriously. We don't want to say, you're fine, just kind of move forward. And, what I really hope in my book is to help readers differentiate the two of, is this an appropriate time for me to intervene and help, or is this an appropriate time for me to take a step back and use this as an opportunity to help my child develop resilience and grit?
And in terms of help, I think what is most helpful about this book is you have a series of questions inside. So each parent can personalize this. How is my child feeling about this? And I think that's really impactful.
Thank you so much. And what I like to do is, approach this with the lens of compassion, again, for parents. So let's say, a teen is really struggling and a parent reads this book and says, oh my gosh, I've done absolutely everything wrong. I've taken all the wrong approaches, even if I'm coming from a place of care and love, that remembering that it's not too late. It's never a lost cause. And, remembering that, working with a teenager is very different than working with an adult. Oftentimes, adults, like I said, are more upfront about how they're feeling and communicate in a different manner, and teens, and obviously I go into detail on this in my book, but, a teen really, really values more active listening from the parent versus being fixed or provided a solution, where oftentimes parents will immediately go towards the solution mode. They tell a teen, okay, you're anxious, go for a walk, meditate, which, let's be real, those are excellent solutions, but a teen doesn't like to hear that. The teen wants to feel listened to. The teen wants to feel heard. And oftentimes when parents provide the solutions, it's kind of met with frustration on both accounts because it doesn't land right, which is so challenging for both parties.
I'm smiling because I've given that exact advice. And I know you say the advice is okay, but listening is equally important. I want to talk briefly about social media. I don't know, is that the source? Is it just exacerbating anxiety? You can't limit it altogether. So what do we do?
Yes. Yes. So I come from the stance where I believe that there's a variety of different sources that are contributing to anxiety. So, never going to say it's all social media. I believe that we have kind of these classic causes that are contributing to anxiety that, many parents experience in their own adolescence, like more of the, brain developing hormonal changes, and then in conjunction with that, then we have social media technology and, a variety of other factors. But, in terms of the social media conversation, it's important to remember that we have this kind of cluster of factors here, and I come from this stance of, again, unless of course there's an emergency situation, not having parents restrict a teen's
Right.
access to social media.
Yeah, that
but
restriction
instead,
never works. Sophia, I'm so sorry to cut you
yes,
off, but we're out of
yeah.
time here. I guess
Okay.
folks will have to get your book because it is
Okay.
really great. We
Perfect.
appreciate you. The book is called Calming Teenage Anxiety, A Parent's Guide to Helping Your Teenager Cope with Worry. It is available now. If you want more information, you can check out social media, Penguin Random House, or SophiaGalano.com. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much.